So children, welcome to the chemistry class, and today we start the next topic, P block elements, that is the sulfuric acid having the formula H2SO4. This is the tetrahedral structure of H2SO4. So children, sulfuric acid is one of the most important chemical being used in industries as well as in the laboratory. Therefore, the sulfuric acid is also named as the king of chemicals, and it is also named as the vitriols. Basically children, on the large scale, the sulfuric acid is manufactured by the contact process, and for that session the portion is deleted. And in the contact process, how can we prepare the sulfuric acid? So children, first the sulfur is burned in the presence of oxygen to give the sulfur dioxide. The sulfur is burned in the presence of air to give sulfur dioxide. Then sulfur dioxide undergo the oxidation with the oxygen molecule to give the sulfur trioxide, and this sulfur trioxide is absorbed in the concentrated H2SO4. It gives the oleum, that is the H2S2O7. In the form of oleum, on this industrial scale, the sulfuric acid is stored, and after that when we want to some concentration of sulfuric acid, this oleum is diluted. This oleum is diluted with water, and after the dilution we get 2 moles of sulfuric acid H2SO4. Okay, so in this way we can prepare the sulfuric acid by the contact process, but for that session this preparation, industrial preparation of sulfuric acid, is removed out. So children, what are the important properties of the sulfuric acid? So the important properties of sulfuric acid, in the first we discuss about what are the important physical properties. So in the physical properties, the sulfuric acid is a colorless, oily and dense liquid with a specific gravity of 1.84, having the melting point 298 Kelvin. This is the melting point of sulfuric acid. Second is the H2SO4 generally boils at 611 Kelvin and freezes at 283 Kelvin. So, and one important reason for the high boiling point of the sulfuric acid is the intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Due to this intermolecular hydrogen bonding, the sulfuric acid has very high melting point and boiling point. Sulfuric acid is dissolved in water. It has very high solubility in water, and when it dissolved in water, it liberated a large amount of heat. It means the sulfuric acid dissolved in water with the evolution of a large amount of heat. Hence, care must be taken while preparing or while diluting the sulfuric acid, hence from the concentrated solution, from the concentrated sulfuric acid. So the concentrated sulfuric acid must be added slowly into the water with constant stirring. It is very important children that when you are preparing the dilute sulfuric acid in the laboratory, how can we dilute the sulfuric acid? So when we are adding water in the sulfuric acid, it is an exothermic type of reaction, that is the addition of sulfuric acid in the water is resulting by the evolution of a large amount of heat. So when we are diluting the sulfuric acid is slowly added into the water with constant stirring the beaker. Next is the chemical reactions of the sulfuric acid are due to the following important properties, which is related to the properties of the sulfuric acid. So first property is the low volatility of the concentrated sulfuric acid. Second important property of the sulfuric acid is its strong acidic character. Strong acidic character of the sulfuric acid. These are the important properties of the concentrated sulfuric acid. Third important property is the strong affinity for water. Strong affinity for water. The sulfuric acid has very strong affinity for water. That's why when water is dissolved in the sulfuric acid, it dissolved with the evolution of a large amount of heat. And another is the ability to act as a strong oxidizing agent. the sulfuric acid is acting as a strong oxidizing agent. So these are the chemical reactions of the sulfuric acid is mainly due to the following properties of the sulfuric acid. First is the low volatility, next is the strong acidic character, the strong affinity for water, and third is last is the ability of the concentrated sulfuric acid to act as a strong oxidizing agent. Next is the sulfuric acid is a dibasic acid, and the dibasic acid is due to the property that in the structure of the sulfuric acid it consists of two OH. The sulfur has two bonds with the OH group, and due to the presence of this H, by the liberation of this H plus ion which is present in the OH group of the sulfuric acid, it is acting as a dibasic acid. That's why when the sulfuric acid is treated with water, it gives HSO4 negative plus hydronium anion. Okay, hydronium ion. Next again this HSO4 negative combined with another water molecule to again liberate the H plus ion and convert it into SO4 negative plus H3O positive. So this reaction indicates that the sulfuric acid is acting as a dibasic acid, because when the sulfuric acid combined with water, it liberates the H plus ion and the water is converted into H3O positive. Again this HSO4 negative combined with the water to give again H plus ion is liberated to water to convert it into H3O positive. So this reaction confirms that the sulfuric acid is a dibasic acid. It ionizes in two steps. It gives 2 H plus ion in the aqueous solution. Next important property is, the fifth property is, it acts as a strong dehydrating reagent. The sulfuric acid is acting as a strong dehydrating agent. Dehydrating agent means it has tendency to liberate the water molecules from any compounds. So many wet gases can be dried by passing them through the H2SO4 solution, provided the gases do not react with the sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid removes water from the organic compounds like sucrose. So the carrying action of the sucrose can be carried out by treating the sucrose with concentrated sulfuric acid, and this is very important to describe the dehydrating action of the concentrated sulfuric acid. Children, next property is the acid forms two series of salts. One, it can form the normal sulfate, that is when it combined with the combined with the copper to form the copper sulfate. So it can form the normal sulfate, or it can form the acid sulfate. Acid sulfate means hydrogen sulfate. Okay, so it can form the normal sulfate, for example the sodium sulfate NaSO4, or acid sulfate means the sodium hydrogen sulfate, that is the normal sulfate example is the Na2SO4, and the acid sulfate is the NaHSO4 because it has the H plus ion, it liberates the H plus ion. Next important property is, due to its low volatility, it is used to manufacture more volatile compounds. More volatile compounds, for example, that is the HF, HNO3. For the preparation of these high volatile compounds, we can use the concentrated sulfuric acid. And the example is that when it combined with the metal halide, means the H2SO4 when combined with the metal halide, what it give? It give the hydrogen halide plus metal sulfate, HX plus M2SO4. This property is due to the low volatility of the sulfuric acid, and it is used to manufacture more volatile compounds like HF, HNO3, HCl. So and their corresponding, and they are prepared from their corresponding salts. And here M is the metal, X is the halogen, for example fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. So when the metal halides are combined with the sulfuric acid, it gives the volatile compounds like hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen chloride. When at the place of X we take the fluorine or chlorine. Children, the hot and concentrated sulfuric acid act as a moderately strong oxidizing agent. Both metals and non-metals are oxidized by using the concentrated sulfuric acid itself, it is reduced to SO2. So when the reaction is carried, when the metal, for example copper, is treated with the H2SO4, then what it gives, that this is the important property, that when the copper is treated with the H2SO4, then what it gives the copper sulfate plus sulfur dioxide plus water. Okay. So in this way, this act as a, and this reaction is what indicates, this reaction indicates that here the and here we take the sulfuric acid in the concentrated form. So the concentrated sulfuric acid is acting as a moderately strong oxidizing agent. So it can oxidize the metal as well as non-metals, and it oxidizes to the concentrated sulfuric acid, and itself it undergo the reduction to SO2. So in this way, the carbon, another non-metal carbon, may also combine with the sulfuric acid. Then what it give? It give the carbon undergo the oxidation, that it give the carbon dioxide plus H2O and plus SO2. So in this way, these are the important properties of the concentrated sulfuric acid. This is the slide of the children, that is the uses of the sulfuric acid. So it is used as an important industrial chemical for the manufacture of hundreds of other compounds. Sulfuric acid in the large amount it is used in the manufacture of fertilizers, for example ammonium sulfate, superphosphate, etc. It is used as a laboratory reagent. It is used in the petroleum refining and manufacture of paints, pigments and dye-stuff intermediates. It is used in detergent industry and metallurgical applications like electroplating, galvanizing, etc. This sulfuric acid is used in storage batteries. For example, the lead storage battery, we are using the sulfuric acid. These batteries are used in the inverters, etc. In the manufacture of nitrocellulose products, and one of the most important is that it as a laboratory reagent. So children, this is all about the group 16 elements. Children, the next group is the group 17 elements, and in this the fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine is present, and these elements are collectively named as the halogens. So children, we move to the atomic properties of the group 17 elements. In this, the first is the electronic configuration. So the group 17 elements having the electronic configuration valence, that is the Ns2Np5. So all the elements of group 17 have 7 electrons in its outermost shell, which is 1 electron less than the complete octet electronic configuration. So due to that reason, these halogens having very high electronegativity. Another is important is the atomic and ionic radii. Atomic and ionic radii. So children, as per the rule, as we know that when we move top to bottom in a group, the atomic size and ionic radii get increases due to increase in the number of cell. And when we move from left to right along a period, the atomic size decreases because the 1 electron is added in the same cell. It means when the atomic radii decreases along the period, the halogens have very less atomic size. So the atomic and ionic radii of halogens are smallest in their respective period due to the maximum effective nuclear charge. Due to the size decrease, less is due because the effective nuclear charge is very high in the case of halogens. So due to increase in the effective nuclear charge, the atomic and ionic radii of the halogens are smaller in their respective period. So atomic radius, and when we move from top to bottom in the group, the atomic radius get increases. So the atomic radius of fluorine like elements of the second period is extremely small. On moving down the group, the atomic and ionic radii increases from fluorine to iodine. This is due to increase in the number of valence shell. After the atomic and ionic radii, next is the ionization enthalpy. Ionization enthalpy, so the halogens, since the halogens have 7 electron in their valence shell, only 1 electron less than the octet electronic configuration, so that reason the halogens have little tendency to lose their electron. Thus they have very high ionization enthalpy because next to the inert gas, because after the 17 the 18 group constitute of the noble gases, inert gases. So and on moving down the group, due to increase in the atomic size, the ionization enthalpy get decreased. decreases, and this is only due to increase in the atomic size. Next is the electron gain enthalpy. Next is the electron gain enthalpy. Electron gain enthalpy means the amount of energy released when any neutral gaseous atom gain the electron. So halogens have the highest negative electron gain enthalpy in their respective period. This is because they have only one electron less than the stable noble electronic configuration. As a result, they rarely accept one electron to acquire the noble gas electronic configuration, because when they gain the one electron, the electronic configuration become ns2np6. So the electron gain enthalpy value is highest negative value in the case of halogens. So electron gain enthalpy becomes less negative when we are moving from chlorine to iodine. Okay children, however, the negative electron gain enthalpy of fluorine is less than that of the chlorine due to the small size of fluorine, and it has high inter-electronic repulsion in the relatively smaller 2p orbital. It is very important, children, to note you down why the electron gain enthalpy value for the fluorine is less negative than the chlorine. This is only reason that the size of the fluorine is very small, and due to that, when electron is added in the fluorine, there is highest inter-electronic repulsion is found in the case of fluorine when the electron is added in the 2p subcell containing orbital. Hence, incoming electron experiences less attraction from the nucleus despite the lower value of its electron gain enthalpy with negative sign. Fluorine is a stronger oxidizing agent than chlorine, and it is due to the fact that the important properties of the fluorine is that the first is the low bond dissociation enthalpy of FF bond. First is the low bond dissociation enthalpy of FF bond, and second is the high hydration enthalpy of F minus ion. Okay children, so fluorine is a strong oxidizing agent than the chlorine. The first reason is that the low bond dissociation enthalpy of the FF bond. Second is the high hydration enthalpy of F negative ion, and this is the important about why the fluorine is acting as a strong oxidizing agent. Next is the electronegativity. The fifth point is electronegativity. So electronegativity is the tendency of an atom to attract the shared pair electron. So the halogens have very high tendency to attract the shared pair electron towards itself because it has only one electron less than the stable noble electronic configuration, and down the group electronegativity decreases due to increase in the atomic size. So children, that's why the fluorine is the most electronegative element among the periodic table. So after that we move to the physical properties of the group 17 elements, and the physical properties, the first is the physical state of the group 17 elements. So children, in this, the fluorine and chlorine are gases. These two are existing in the form of gas. The bromine is liquid, and iodine is existing in the form of solid. Okay, this is about the physical state of the group 17 elements. Next we move to the melting and boiling point. So their melting and boiling point steadily increases down the group because down the group atomic size increases, and due to increase in an atomic size the surface area increases, and the surface area results in increase in the van der Waals force of interaction, and as these molecules are held together by these force of attraction, that's why the melting and boiling point also increases down the group. After that children, the next is the color. After the physical state, melting and boiling point. The third one is color. Basically all the elements of the group 17 are exhibiting some color, and all the halogens are colored due to the absorption of radiation in the visible region, which results in the excitation of outer electron to the higher energy level, because one electron is present in the unpaired electron is present in the p subcell. That's why when the atom gain some radiation, the electron is shifted to higher energy level when it moves to the excited state. So by absorbing the different quanta of radiation, by absorbing different quanta of photon, they display different colors. That's why the fluorine is yellow in color, chlorine has greenish yellow color, bromine has red color, iodine has the violet color. So the difference in the color is due to the ability of the elements to absorb the different quanta of radiation. Next is the solubility. After the color, the next is the solubility. So children, the fluorine and chlorine easily react with the water. Bromine and iodine are sparingly soluble in the water but highly soluble in the organic solvents like chloroform, carbon disulfide and hydrocarbons to give the different types of colored solution. Next is the enthalpy of dissociation. It is very important. Enthalpy of dissociation of the molecules of group 17. Enthalpy of dissociation. Okay children, so the fluorine has a smaller bond dissociation enthalpy than chlorine and bromine, why the fluorine has smaller bond dissociation enthalpy than chlorine and bromine? Due to the small size of the fluorine atom. The bond dissociation enthalpy of FF bond length is less than the chlorine and bromine because the fluorine has very small size, and in the small size there is large inter-electronic repulsion is found between the lone pairs of the electron. So due to the fact that the structure is very unstable, and that's why the bond dissociation enthalpy decreases in the order that the chlorine, due to its size it has, and due to its bond length, bond is very strong as compared to fluorine. So the bond dissociation enthalpy of chlorine is more than the bromine, and after that is the fluorine, and due to the weaker bond strength of the iodine, it has very less bond dissociation enthalpy. So it is very important children, mostly reasoning questions comes like that, why the bond dissociation enthalpy of fluorine is less than chlorine and bromine, and it is only due to the small size of F atoms, and due to the small size there is a large inter-electronic repulsion is found, and that's why the bond dissociation enthalpy of fluorine is less than the chlorine and bromine. Next we move to the important chemical properties of group 17 elements. Next is the chemical properties, and in this chemical properties the first one is the oxidation state. It is very important, oxidation state. Children, basically all the halogens are showing the oxidation state of -1. The -1 is shown by all the elements belonging to group 17. Other halogen except fluorine are showing the oxidation state of +1, +3, +5 and +7, except fluorine, because fluorine is electronegative element, so it show only the oxidation state in -1. So fluorine atom has no, and why they different elements are showing the +1, +3, +5 and +7 oxidation state? Because of the gradual promotion of the Np electrons to Nd orbitals, because the electronic configuration is 1s2, valence is the ns2 np5. Here one electron is unpaired present in the d, whereas the d in the higher elements, the d subcell is vacant, so the electron of this orbital may shifted to in this orbital, electron of this orbital may shifted to this orbital. So due to the gradual promotion of the Np electrons to Nd orbitals. That's why the other elements of the group 17 are showing the +3, +5 and +7 oxidation state. The fluorine atom has no vacant d orbital because it is the top element of the group 17 in its valence shell, and therefore it can't expand its octet, because being the most electronegative element, the fluorine show only the -1 oxidation state. Whereas the higher oxidation state of chlorine, bromine and iodine are found mainly when halogens are in combination with small and highly electronegative atoms like fluorine atom, oxygen atom, or for example it may form the compounds like interhalogen compounds. So children, next we move to the trends in the chemical reactivity. So in this, the first is the oxidizing power, that is the group 17 elements are exhibiting the oxidizing power. That's because there is a trend in the chemical reactivity is found in the group 17 elements, because all the halogens are highly reactive and their reactivity decreases down the group due to increase in their atomic size. This is very important. Why the reactivity decreases down the group? Because when the size increases down the group, the more reactive compound is that which is having the smaller size. So we move to the chemical trends. In this, the first is the oxidizing power. Oxidizing power means because the halogens have tendency to gain electron to complete its octet. It means it helps in the oxidation of another element by gaining the electron, by itself undergoing the reduction. So in this way it acting as a strong oxidizing agent. So mostly all the elements are showing the oxidizing behavior. So the acceptance of an electron is due to the strong oxidizing nature of halogens, in which the F2 fluorine is the strongest oxidizing agent, and it oxidizes the other halides ion in the solution or even in the solid phase. In general, a halogen oxidizes the halide ion of higher atomic number. So fluorine has tendency to oxidize the other halide also. So when the fluorine combine with the another halides, for example at the place of X halide ion, at the place of X we may take the chlorine, bromine, iodine. So after the reaction, what happens? When it combined with the another halide ions of the larger size, then what it give? It give 2F minus plus X2. Okay, so here the fluorine gain the electron from the halide ion. It means here the fluorine is acting as a oxidizing agent by itself undergoing the reduction process. So fluorine oxidizes the other elements like oxygen as well as the elements which are present in the group 17, which are larger than the fluorine. So in this way the fluorine is acting as a strong oxidizing agent among the group 17 elements. So chlorine oxidizes at the next, the chlorine may oxidize the other elements of the group 17, that is at the place of X we may take the bromine and iodine, and after the reaction what it give? It give 2Cl minus plus X2. Again after that bromine also oxidizes the iodide ion, and after the reaction what it give? It give 2 bromide anion plus I2. So in this way the group 17 elements are exhibiting the oxidizing power. Among the fluorine is the strongest oxidizing agent. It may oxidize the other halogens like chlorine, bromine and iodine to give the fluoride anion plus halogen gas. Chlorine oxidizes the bromine and iodine. At the place of X we may take the bromine and iodine, and bromine may oxidize the iodine. So the relative oxidizing power of the halogens can be further illustrated by the reaction with the water molecule. That is, when the fluoride anion reacted with water, then what it gave? It gave, that is the fluorine when reacted with the water molecule, it gave the hydrogen fluoride plus oxygen gas. Okay children, here the fluorine having the -1 electronic charge and hydrogen having the +1. Similarly, the chlorine and bromine undergo the disproportionation reaction with water and give the corresponding hydrohalic and hypohalous. Okay, so at the place of X we may take the chlorine and bromine, and when it reacted with the H2O, it give the hydrohalic along with the hydrohalous HOX. So at the place of X we may take the X is equal to chlorine and bromine. Okay children, next is the reaction of iodine with the water is a non-spontaneous reaction, and iodide ion can be oxidized in the acidic media. In the acidic media means here the reaction is the 4I minus, here we take the iodide ion, and iodide ion when reacted in the acidic media, that is the H plus, and it undergo the oxidation reaction by using the oxygen, and after the reaction what it give? It give the iodine along with the water molecule. So there are difference in the formation of the product. So the reactivity of the halogens can be briefly illustrated by the reaction with the water molecule. So fluorine when reacted with the water, it give the hydrogen fluoride. When chlorine and bromine reacted with water, it give the hydrohalic as well as the hypohalous. And when the iodide anion undergo the oxidation in the presence of acid, it give the iodine and water. So children, that's all for today. In the next class we continue the reactivity towards hydrogen, how the group 17 elements combine with the hydrogen to form the different types of compounds. Thank you children.